So applied maths, applied science, physics, computer science, engineering, economics, all that is usually quite okay. Occasionally we do take people who are not within this range, but that will depend on whether they can convince us that they are sufficiently passionate about this area and that they can overcome their deficiencies, right? Because if you come in and out of the 3 core areas, finance, programming, maths, if you are good in all 3 of them, you probably will do well in the program. If you are good in 2 of them, you probably should do well. If you are good in only 1, the challenge increases. If you have nothing, it's a huge challenge, right? So occasionally we do have students coming in who actually have nothing, but if they can convince us that they have the sufficient passion to overcome these hurdles, then we still take them in. Some of them actually do quite well. But our MFE program is one of those programs where there is no guarantee that everyone will graduate. Right? Because we have to maintain certain standards so that when the alumni have job openings for our students, they can continue to be confident that we are churning out the right level of skills. The people that graduate from our program will have the skills that can undertake that kind of work. Right? So we have to maintain the standard. So because of that, there is no guarantee that everyone who comes in will graduate. But one thing is, we have 300 odd applicants each year. We take in about 40 plus, 40, 50. So you find that we can afford to be selective. And frankly, everyone who is selected, we honestly feel that they can finish the program. Otherwise, we could have taken, we could easily have taken more students. It's just that considering the job opportunities in Singapore, we don't want to flood the market also. Right? So we take in, we're rather conservative in the number we take in. We are confident that the people that we do select should be able to finish the program. But occasionally, certain things happen, maybe sometimes you have overseas students who come join us, then they're doing okay, but maybe they're homesick, and rather rare, but homesick, and then they decide that they have to drop out because of that, occasionally. Very rarely do we have cases where people cannot pick up the programming, but it has happened once. In the past few years, only once that I remember. So most of the time, our students with enough motivation, if they show the motivation that they had when they attended our interviews, instantly everyone has to be. Oops. Yeah. Is it catching? Everyone has to be interviewed. It's not catching. Is it? Yeah. Actually, the room is small. Okay, actually everyone has to be interviewed for our MFE, right? We have a 100% interview policy. So if you are not shortlisted and you are not interviewed, that means you are not joining us for sure. If you are interviewed, there's no guarantee that you will join us, but the purpose of the interview is to make sure that you have the right motivation, right? So that's why we interview everyone. Okay, so we may take a bit longer because of that, compared to other programs that you may encounter in Singapore. In some programs, you may get an offer straight away without an interview. For us, we interview everybody. So that's why we take a bit more time. And the reason we do that is that we have noticed that, as I said, the profile of the kind of people that we like will tend to be a bit nerdy, because of the nature of their strengths. They sort of have that characteristic. We are fine with that as long as it's not so extreme that we think that, wow, this guy cannot work with people. So that's why we have the 100% interview policy to make sure that we get the people we want, but at the same time not too extreme. Okay, you have to have a good GMAT or GRE score. This is compulsory. Everyone must have either one, not both, but either one. You can choose which one. Whether you want to take a GMAT or GRE is fine with us. If your medium of instruction is not English, then you need to have a good TOEFL or IELTS score. Okay? Relevant professional experience is preferred but not required. So it's preferred meaning that it's good if you have, but it's not that you must have it. Okay? So what is more important is whether you have that motivation, whether you have a passion, you enjoy learning, you think that the skills that you pick up is something that you wish to apply in industry. We hope that all our students get work as financial engineers. That means making use of the programming and math skills that they have picked up. we tend not to encourage people to take our MFE and then later on do like a research analyst kind of work, because that's not what they're trained for. If you want to do a research analyst work, go and do a CFA. If you want to do lower level risk management work, go and do an FRM. A number of our students already have CFAs and FRMs, right? So this is more to bring your skills to a new level. Because if you have done FRM, you realize that you do have quite a number of statistical techniques that you need to apply. Sometimes, as I said, no closed form solutions, you need to use numerical techniques. That's where our program comes in, right? So there are a lot of tools that we cover, which will be helpful for both those people who want to work in the risk management area. Okay. For the CFA side, actually not so much. If you think that you want to do business analyst, risk, the security analysis kind of work, then actually do the CFA. Our program will not prepare you for the CFA at all. But as I said, a number of our students actually have the CFA, and the reason is that, well, the CFA is a very well-recognized program, and if you take that program, a lot of the jargon in finance, you would have learned. At the same time, because it's so well-recognized, you have it in your resume, it looks nice, right? So, and it does tell the potential employers that you put in the effort to study a few things at the same time. Some of the students actually do our MFE and the CFA at the same time. Some, not all, because it is a challenge, right? But at the end of the day, when you can show someone that you are motivated, you're willing to work hard, and that's why you can put so many letters to your name, you will look better when you go for the job interview. So at the end of the day, it's a signaling mechanism. Okay. As you say, we hope that everyone will be a finance professional after our MFE program, and they actually do work in a financial engineering kind of job. Okay, applications, you can apply online at, actually this link is quite easy to remember, ntu.edu.sg, everyone will know because it's linked to NTU. So we just add MFE in front of that and you can find our website quite easily. Online applications will be available now. Open already?
Have received applications.
Oh, okay, good. So, and it will be closed end of February. So please take note of this. Don't wait till the last minute. If your applications are strong, you actually may be called for an interview earlier. Because I know some of you may want to apply for other programs and you want to give us time, because as I said, we have a 100% interview policy. If you don't get interviewed, you cannot be accepted. Okay? So selected candidates will be invited for interviews from Jan to April. In special cases, we may actually have interviews a bit earlier, but this is the usual period, Jan to April. Program structure and fees. We have mini-term structure. Actually, we follow this. We follow the Carnegie Mellon University's quantitative finance program. So they also have a mini-term structure. So we also follow suit. Which means that what is a mini-term structure? Each mini-term consists of 7 weeks. 6 weeks of instruction followed by 1 week of exams. Okay, so 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1. And we have a total of 20 core courses plus 4 electives. One of the core courses actually stretches over 2 mini-terms. So actually the amount of coursework we have, if you look at it, it looks rather amazing that we can cover so much in 1 year. That's because we have a total of 6 mini-terms. Okay, and as I said, each mini-term consists of 6 weeks plus 1 week of exams. And how do we squeeze all that? For a full-timer, for full-timers, they do everything in 1 year. For part-timers, they do everything in 2 years. So how do the full-timers finish everything? They actually have 4 to 5 classes per week, whereas the part-timers have 2 to 3 classes per week. And to squeeze so many lessons in a year, what happens is your first 3 mini-terms, you will have the first 3 mini-terms without any breaks. So literally it's 6 plus 1. After your exams end next week, another 6 plus 1. After the exams end next week, another 6 plus 1. So you have the first 3 mini-terms, no break at all. Then you have a short 2 to 3 weeks for Christmas. After that, you have another 2 mini-terms. And then after that, you prepare to go to Pittsburgh. Okay, so that's how our program goes. It's very intensive. It's like not much time, right? So you usually from the first week, you really have to keep up with your work, right? You have quite a number of projects that you need to work on. And if you don't keep up, you will quickly fall behind. And you will find that it's rather difficult to catch up. So it's always a good idea to really stay on top of things from the beginning. So our classes are held, for weekdays, our classes are held at night. So 6:30 to 10 p.m. And many classes end at 10 p.m. It's not one of those programs where they say 3.5 hours. After 2 hours, you can sort of say, okay, I think I'm done for tonight. It doesn't quite happen that way. It's really 6:30 to 10. And you ask questions for some instructors, it may actually go beyond 10. So that's for weekdays. Occasionally, we have, actually not so, quite often, we do have classes on Saturday mornings, right? 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. If there's more than one session on the Saturday, then it will be on Saturday afternoon, 2 to 5:30. So usually we probably can do everything by Saturday. But sometimes if you have a visiting professor, because of the nature of his, he's not here for so long, and it's expensive to keep him here, right? So what happens is we have to then make everything a bit more intensive. In that kind of situation, we may end up having to have something on Sundays as well. But most of the time, we refrain from doing that because everyone values their Sundays, including the students. Right? Okay, so that's our program. Each course will have 21 contact hours. This takes into account that every day is actually every week is 3.5 hours of times 6, right? So it's actually 21 contact hours, except for stochastic calculus. As I said, stochastic calculus actually stretches over 2 mini-terms. So it has double the number of contact hours at 42. Exemptions, you can get exemptions of up to 3 core subjects. The nature of the exemption or how you can get it depends on the instructor. So like I said, some instructors will actually set you an exam. You pass the exam, then you don't have to take his course. Otherwise, you take his course and then you do the exam, right? So it depends on the instructor. Period of candidature, as I mentioned, for full-time, it's supposed to be 1 year, part-time is supposed to be 2 years. If you, for whatever reason, you need to extend it, it can at most go to 2 years for full-timers and maximum of 4 years for the part-timers. For part-timers, occasionally, it might be because the work requirements, they are sent overseas. So because of that, they have to defer their studies for a while. So occasionally that happens. It's of course not encouraged because the longer your break from studies, the worse it is when you come back, right? So it's best to try to make it through one shot. If you're doing part-time, one shot, do 2 years. This question has come up before. Can someone work full-time and study full-time? Actually, it is possible. For locals, you can do that. It's not encouraged at all. We have had students before who also tried it and then they realized, actually, we can't do it. So then they have to switch and that becomes very messy. We have had students before who actually literally study full-time and work full-time. But they tend to be very strong to begin with. And like that, we had one who actually worked full-time, studied full-time, and taught the program. So it was rather remarkable. And he had actually quite a high-level job. Maybe he gave himself less work because he was already management role. So it's possible that he could manage his work so that he has more time. But it's quite rare for that to happen well. So our advice is, especially the first 2 mini-terms, if you're coming back to studies after a long time, it's best to actually put in your full effort. Don't sort of try to have other events going on at the same time, like a wedding, that kind of thing. Okay. Tuition fees. Some of you probably are quite keen to find out what this looks like, right? So for tuition fees, are these correct?
Yeah.
These are correct. Okay.
As at this year.
As at this year, these numbers are still correct, right? So for 2018, there may be some adjustment, but this is rough. This is a rough gauge. There might be adjustment, but this is a rough gauge. So for Singapore citizens, it is about 29,000. PRs a bit higher. Foreigners, if you choose to take the 3-year service obligation, you pay 42,004, and full fees is actually about 56,000. Full fees. Occasionally, we do have foreigners who decide that they don't want the 3-year service obligation, then they decide to pay full fees. If you have ever taken a master's, another master's course in Singapore, then you will have to probably pay full fees if that course was subsidized. If you have had a subsidized master's course in Singapore, then you probably have to pay full fees for our course. if you have